I was a cashier at Lover's Stop in Denver, and I had been in the night shift from the first day that I've joined. I was just out of the school, and I needed to fund my college tuition, so I decided to support myself. Ivy League colleges were out of question, so it was in the job to support myself and pay off the community college fees. So I worked the night shift, even if it was the scariest thing for someone just out of school and living at least 6 miles from where I used to work. This story took place around when I was a month in the job. There was a truck that rushed into the shop. A man very panicky and looked entered the door and started talking up things. He came with all that and then checked into the cash counter and threw in $200 bills and rushed out. His total was $250, but he was already out the door and I shouted, "You are $50 short, man." And he looked back at me with angry eyes and said, "What the fuck did you just say?" I looked at him nervously and said, "I said you are $50 short, man." He stared at me angrily and said, "Who do you think you are, punk?" I politely said, "I didn't mean to offend you, sir, but my boss will be on my ass if I am short." The man looked at me and said, "I don't have time for this, kid. I don't give a fuck about you." And as he said that, a truck came in a rush pulling in, and the man looked at me and said, "Shit, man. Look, tell them that I'm not here, all right?" And I looked at him and said, "Dude, your truck is outside. What the hell am I supposed to say?" He looked at me, and as he went back to the door, he said, "Make some shit up, dumbass." And as he exited, the angry guys came real close, and they asked me where the guy was, and my mouth was sealed shut. Even though the guy was practically rude to me, I said nothing. I did not snitch. And the guys left, but as they did, they trashed the guy's truck. When the room was clear and they were long gone, the guy came out, and first thing he did was apologize to me and said, "I'm sorry, man. I was rude to you before. These guys are grade 8 assholes and I don't have my breakup yet." And I replied, "They left a message. They said that tell the pussy that they will be back tomorrow right here." The man looked relaxed. "Don't worry about that. Here, take it and keep the change." He handed me a $100 bill and left and said, "A piece of advice, kid. Don't be here tomorrow. It will get ugly." The next day when I got back to the ship, I saw the same man and he told me to wait in the truck. And as I waited, it was the horror that I witnessed from there. And people were just constantly shooting each other and there was bloodshed. I witnessed it all in horror. And suddenly, I saw guys together. One of them pulled me out of the truck and asked, "What the hell are you doing here, man?" And I said, "I'm just a cashier, man." They dropped me and told me, "You forget our faces and shut the hell up, or you get stitches." I confirmed and shut my mouth until now, when I heard they were all caught, and some died in crossfire with police. Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. Okay, so for some background, I'm a female and the story takes place. I was a junior in high school, so I was about 16 to 17. Throughout the story, I'm now a sophomore in college, so this is about 4 years ago. I get to school on the first day, and my Italian teacher is new. He was an old, maybe only about 25 or 26. He looked nice enough, not visibly creepy. He was pretty short, maybe only about 5'7", and I'm 4'11" and 100 pounds. So basically, everyone is bigger than me. We'll call this teacher Mr. C. Fast forward a month or two, I remember it was just starting to get cold out. Everything in this class has been pretty normal. I do notice he basically only calls on girls and stands a little too close, but nothing too out of the ordinary. I did the musicals in high school, so I would often be there until about 9 or 10 p.m. rehearsing. This one particular day, there were parent-teacher conference, so basically, all the teachers were there very late. For musical nerds like me, we were doing Legally Blonde and I was playing Margot, one of Ellie's friends. My costume for this scene was a little raunchy. It was a short white tennis skirt with an athletic tank top and some Converse. I also had on a little pink bow in my hair, and that part is important. So I have to pee really bad. So I walked quickly to the closest bathroom, which was upper floor and down the hall. Mr. C's room happened to be a few doors down from the girls' bathroom. Most of the teachers had finished their conference by the time and had left. I saw a light on in Mr. C's room, so I glanced over, and he was sitting in there by himself packing up his stuff. I didn't think he noticed me, and I kept walking till I got to the bathroom. I did my business, and as I was finishing up, I heard the bathroom door open. I thought it was weird, but just assumed it was one of my classmates. But the footsteps sounded a little too loud to be a high school girl's. So I walked out of the stall, and literally just standing there in the bathroom was Mr. C. I was just standing there frozen. This was so weird. I tried to say something, but nothing came out. I was honestly freaked. After a few seconds of just staring at each other, he handed me my bone, says, "You dropped this, Cherry." I just gave him a little smile and quickly thanks, grabbing it, got out of there. I didn't even wash my hands. I was honestly so incredibly freaked out. It wasn't until a few seconds later that I realized the economy Cherry. This made me stop dead in my tracks. My dad calls me Cherry because I had red hair as a little kid. It's brown now. Literally no one knew about that nickname, not even my friends. My dad had passed away 8 years ago. I started running until I got back to my classmates. My friend Eva noticed that I looked shaken up. She asked me what was wrong, and I just broke down crying. It wasn't really about my creepy teacher. More about the memories of my father, I suppose. She quickly took me into an empty classroom and sat with me while I cried. After I'd gotten on most of my tears, I told her everything that had happened. She was livid, but I convinced her not to tell anyone because I was embarrassed. I know, I'm an idiot. She didn't have Mr. C, but stopped by my class with him once to grab my car keys when her art project was in my car. She told me later when we were driving home that he had looked at me really weirdly. She said it was the way a predator looks at its prey. Yeah, huge red flags everywhere. But I was super innocent and just generally naive at the time. After this, nothing happened for another month or two. I had honestly forgotten about everything, but I still remember the day my life changed forever. The day everything started, January 16th. I had just gotten home from school and went on Facebook. I had a friend request from a guy named Jake. He was super attractive, and a few people from my school were friends with him. So I assumed he went to a school in a nearby town. I shrugged and accepted his request. What I didn't notice was weird was that he had about 5 photos, all posts in the last 2 days, but I ignored it. So basically, 5 seconds after I accept, I get a message from this J kid. He says, "Hi, cutie," with a winky face. We talked for hours, and we both had so much in common. We loved to draw, had 2 older siblings, our parents were both remarried. Our favorite color was both periwinkle. Well, we both loved Billy Joel. The list went on and on. It was honestly pretty strange. He asked me if I wanted to hang out, and I said yes, but that I had cheer practice and the rehearsal right after. He sounded pretty angry and told me I was lying, and then called me a derogatory term. He sent about 100 messages about how it was disgusting, and I started panicking and just blocked him. I tried my best to ignore it and went to cheer practice. Cheer was from about 5:30 to 7, and then I had rehearsal from 7:15 to 9:30. Ava and I planned to grab something from McDonald's in our 15-minute break. In the middle of cheer, Eva sprained her ankle, so her mom came to pick her up. After I finished cheer practice, I decided I would just go to McDonald's by myself. It was freezing, and I was in a tiny cheer uniform, so I ran to my SUV and hopped inside. I clicked the push the start button, and nothing happened. What? That was strange. I tried again, a few more times with no success. I called my stepdad and he said I should just leave my car there and go back inside, and he would pick me up from rehearsal and check out my car. I was honestly so angry about not getting my chicken nuggets that I hadn't even realized that I'd never unlocked my car. I knew 100% that I locked it, and I didn't have to unlock my car to get back in. I didn't figure this out until weeks later and actually cried when I realized, because that meant that someone had actually messed with my car. I bought this car myself, so it was kinda my baby. Also angry and stopped my way back inside, having no clue why my car wouldn't start. A kitty not the second I walked inside. I slammed right into Mr. C. I had no idea why he was still at school. The only other teacher here was my drama director, so he really shouldn't have been there. Sorry, I murmured, quickly walking away, when I felt a hand grab my arm. Like honestly, really tight. And I even winced a bowling back to him and asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, but my car wouldn't start. His face literally lit up. It was actually really creepy. He said, I was actually headed to McDonald's if you wanted to come with me. This is when I started to freak out. How did he know I was going to McDonald's? Why was he asking me, a child, to come with him to McDonald's? That was not normal at all, and I felt pretty scared. I actually have rehearsal, thank you though. His face quickly changed from happiness to extreme anger. I really got terrified of what this man was playing. His grip was still on my arm and I felt trapped. He took a deep breath and said, well, I'll be waiting here after your rehearsal, and we can go after. I have a black pickup truck. He quickly walked away to make sure I didn't have time to answer. I just stood there in shock, not knowing what was going on. My friend Maya suddenly appeared saying my director was looking for me and I needed to come to rehearsal. I quickly sped off with her, trying to figure out what I was going insane or if that had actually happened. After rehearsal, I was so genuinely terrified that I asked my stepdad to come to a different entrance because I said I was exhausted, and asked if he could go get my car tomorrow. He reluctantly agreed. On the way home, we passed my car, and sitting right next to it was a black pickup. I just about stopped breathing, but tried to calm down not to show my stepdad. Again, a dumb move on my part. I should have just come straight forward. The next day, I received a text from an unknown number when I woke up. It said it was from Jake and he apologized. Everything said he was having girl troubles and was so sorry. Like the idiot I accepted it. And we began talking again. After a little bit, I mentioned the school that I went to, and he said his uncle worked there. I was shocked, and as to I didn't even know what I was expecting, but of course he said Mr. C. Then he sent a blurry picture of a man and a teen boy fishing at a lake, and the man was obviously Mr. C. But the boy was not this Jake kid. Like it was someone completely different, and even in a different ethnicity. And then I realized that this person I was talking to was Mr. C. I immediately powered off my phone and just started crying. I was so freaked out. A mom walked into my room with my laundry and saw me sobbing. She asked what was wrong, and I broke down and told her everything. She flipped her lid on, called the cops, talked to my school. The next day, Mr. C wasn't in class. I found out a few weeks later that they found a ton of illicit images of children on his computer, and when they asked what his intentions were with me, he flat out said he was in love with me, wanted to get me pregnant, steal me, and marry me. Yeah, I'm still very traumatized after a few years. I know my story isn't as crazy as some people's, but it could have been much, much worse.